There comes a moment in every person's life when everything changes, when the weight of existence becomes too heavy to carry alone, when the darkness of night reveals truths that daylight hides, and when you realize that the person you have become is not the person you were meant to be. This is that moment. This is the story of transformation, of habits that seem so small they appear meaningless, yet possess the power to reshape your entire world. We live in a world that moves faster than our ancestors could have ever imagined, where information flows like waterfalls, where distractions multiply like rabbits, and where the pressure to succeed can feel like carrying mountains on our shoulders. Yet within this chaos, within this storm of modern existence, there lies a quiet truth that philosophers have whispered for thousands of years, that scientists have recently confirmed, and that successful people have always known deep in their bones. This truth is simple but profound. Your life is not shaped by what you do once in a while. Your life is shaped by what you do every single day. The small actions you repeat, the tiny choices you make, the little habits you build or break. These are the invisible architects of your destiny. They work silently in the background while you sleep, while you eat, while you work and play, constructing the person you will become, one brick at a time. Most people never understand this. They search for magic pills, overnight success, lottery tickets, and shortcuts that promise everything but deliver nothing. They ignore the power of consistency, the compound interest of daily improvement, the unstoppable force of habits aligned with purpose. Morning light. The first rays of sunlight touch the horizon long before most people open their eyes, painting the sky with colors that no artist could perfectly capture, announcing the arrival of a new day filled with infinite possibilities. How you greet this moment, how you transition from sleep to wakefulness, sets the tone for everything that follows. The most successful people throughout history have understood this fundamental truth. They have guarded their mornings like treasures, protected their first hours like sacred ground, knowing that winning the morning means winning the day. When you wake up, your mind is fresh, your willpower is strong, and your potential is unlimited. This is the golden hour, the time when you can plant seeds that will grow throughout the day, when you can establish momentum that will carry you through challenges, when you can connect with yourself before the world demands your attention. Think about what most people do when they wake up. The alarm screams at them like an angry enemy. They hit the snooze button, stealing a few more minutes of restless half-sleep that leaves them feeling worse than before. They grab their phone immediately, flooding their fresh mind with notifications, messages, news, and other people's problems before they have even said good morning to themselves. They rush through their morning in a fog of stress, skipping breakfast or eating garbage, forgetting to drink water, running out the door feeling scattered and unprepared. Then they wonder why their days feel chaotic, why their energy crashes, why they cannot seem to get ahead. They have lost the battle before it even began because they surrendered their morning without a fight. Now, imagine a different way. Imagine waking up naturally, or to a gentle alarm, taking a deep breath and thanking the universe for another day of life. Imagine resisting the urge to check your phone, choosing instead to spend the first moments of your day in silence, in stillness, in gratitude. Imagine drinking a full glass of water to wake up your body from the inside, hydrating cells that have been waiting all night for refreshment. Imagine moving your body, even for just 5 or 10 minutes, doing stretches that release tension, exercises that pump blood through your system, movements that tell your brain that today you are alive and ready. These simple actions create a cascade of positive effects. Your metabolism awakens, your mood lifts, your clarity sharpens. You have taken control of your day before anything else could control you. The habit of waking up with intention transforms everything. It does not require waking up at 4 in the morning like some extreme productivity gurus suggest, though you can if that works for you. It simply requires that whenever you wake up, You do so with purpose and mindfulness. You treat the first hour as sacred time, as an investment in yourself that pays dividends all day long. Some people use this time for meditation, sitting quietly and observing their thoughts without judgment, training their mind to find peace in the present moment. Others use it for journaling, writing down their dreams, their goals, their gratitude, their intentions, creating clarity on paper that translates to clarity in life. Some people read books that inspire them, that teach them, that expand their thinking beyond the limits of their daily experience. Others practice affirmations, speaking positive truths over themselves until their subconscious begins to believe and embody them. The beautiful thing about morning habits is that they compound over time. One morning of intentional waking might not change your life, but 365 mornings of intentional waking will absolutely transform you. Think about it mathematically. If you invest just 30 minutes each morning in yourself, that equals 3.5 hours per week, 15 hours per month, 182 hours per year. That is more than 7 full days every year dedicated to your growth, your peace, your preparation. Most people do not spend 7 minutes per year on intentional self-improvement, let alone 7 full days. This is how small habits create massive differences. This is how ordinary people achieve extraordinary results. Not through dramatic actions taken once, but through simple actions repeated consistently. There is also deep wisdom in understanding what morning habits help you avoid. When you establish a positive morning routine, you create a buffer against the chaos of the world. You build resilience before you need it. You fill your cup before others try to drink from it. Without this foundation, you are vulnerable to every demand, every emergency, every distraction that comes your way. You react to life instead of creating it. You let circumstances dictate your emotional state instead of choosing your response. Your morning habit is like putting on armor before battle, like studying before a test, like training before a race. It prepares you for what is coming, known or unknown. Really quick, if you like these kinds of deep, thought-provoking questions, it would really help if you could subscribe and like the video so that the algorithm tells us what type of content you guys enjoy. Physical movement. Your body is not separate from your mind, not distinct from your spirit, not independent of your emotions. These ancient parts of yourself are woven together like threads in a tapestry, each one affecting all the others in ways both obvious and subtle. When you move your body, you change your brain chemistry. When you strengthen your muscles, you strengthen your confidence. When you honor your physical form through regular movement, you honor the sacred vessel that carries you through this life. The habit of moving your body every single day is perhaps the most scientifically proven, universally beneficial practice you can adopt. Yet millions of people ignore this truth, living sedentary lives that slowly drain their vitality, sitting for hours upon hours, treating their bodies like inconvenient transportation for their heads rather than miraculous machines worthy of care and attention. Think about how you feel when you have not moved your body in days. Everything becomes harder. Your energy drops. Your mood darkens. Your thoughts become cloudy and slow. Simple tasks feel overwhelming. Your back hurts. Your joints ache. Sleep becomes difficult despite feeling tired all the time. This is not weakness. This is your body sending you messages, begging you to remember what you are designed for. Human beings evolved to move, to walk, to run, to climb, to lift, to stretch. For hundreds of thousands of years, movement was not optional. It was survival. Our ancestors walked miles every day searching for food, ran to escape danger, climbed to reach shelter, lifted to build and carry. Their bodies were strong because their lives demanded strength. Their minds were sharp because physical challenge creates mental resilience. Modern life has removed most of these demands. We can order food without leaving our couch. We can work entire careers without breaking a sweat. We can survive and even thrive economically while barely moving at all. This convenience is wonderful in many ways, but it has created a crisis. Our bodies still carry the ancient programming that expects movement, that needs movement, that breaks down without movement. When we ignore this need, we pay a price, not immediately, but slowly, like rust forming on metal, like weeds growing in a garden. The price is paid in energy, in health, in mood, in longevity, in quality of life. The habit of daily movement does not mean you must become a marathon runner or a bodybuilder unless you want to. It means you commit to moving your body intentionally, every single day, in ways that challenge you appropriately for your current level. For some people, this might be a walk around the neighborhood. For others, it might be yoga in the living room, swimming at the community pool, dancing to favorite songs, lifting weights at the gym, cycling through the park, or playing sports with friends. The specific activity matters far less than the consistency and the intention behind it. When you move your body regularly, incredible things happen inside you. Your heart becomes stronger, pumping blood more efficiently, reducing the risk of disease. Your lungs expand their capacity, bringing more oxygen to every cell. Your muscles grow or maintain their strength, supporting your skeleton, protecting your joints, burning calories even while you rest. Your brain releases chemicals like endorphins that make you feel happy, dopamine that motivates you, serotonin that calms you. New connections form between neurons, improving memory and learning. Inflammation decreases throughout your body, reducing pain and aging. Your immune system strengthens, better able to fight infection and illness. You sleep more deeply because your body has a reason to rest and recover. But the benefits go beyond the physical. When you make yourself move, even when you do not feel like it, you build discipline. When you push through discomfort during exercise, you expand your comfort zone. When you set a fitness goal and achieve it, you prove to yourself that you are capable of change. This confidence spills over into every area of your life. Suddenly the work project does not seem so overwhelming. The difficult conversation feels more manageable. The dream that seemed impossible starts to feel within reach. All because you taught yourself through physical movement that you are stronger than you thought, that discomfort is temporary, that persistence leads to progress. Many people sabotage themselves with all or nothing thinking about movement. They believe that if they cannot work out for an hour, there is no point in doing anything. This is false and harmful. 5 minutes of movement is infinitely better than 0 minutes. A short walk is better than no walk. A few stretches are better than no walk. A few stretches are better than no push-ups. The habit is more important than the duration, especially when you are starting. You are training yourself to show up, to keep your promise to yourself, to prioritize your well-being even when it is inconvenient. There is also something deeply spiritual about moving your body with awareness. When you pay attention to how your muscles feel as they work, to how your breath moves in and out, to how your heart beats faster then slower, you practice presence. You pull yourself out of the endless mental chatter about the past and future and drop into the now, into this moment, into the only place where life actually happens. This is meditation in motion. Prayer through physicality, a conversation between your conscious mind and your physical form. Nourishment. Food is not just fuel, not simply calories to be counted, not merely nutrients to be optimized. Food is medicine or poison, energy or exhaustion, life or slow death. Every single thing you put into your mouth either moves you toward health or away from it, either supports your goals or sabotages them, either honors your body or disrespects it. The habit of eating well, of choosing nourishment over convenience, of feeding yourself like someone you love, is one of the most powerful and challenging habits you can develop. It is challenging because food is everywhere, because unhealthy options are cheap and easy, because we have emotional relationships with eating that run deeper than logic, because changing how we eat often means changing how we live. Most people eat unconsciously. They grab whatever is nearby when hunger strikes. They eat while watching television, scrolling their phone, working at their desk, driving their car. They do not taste their food, do not enjoy it, do not even remember eating it. They consume thousands of calories with no awareness, no intention, no connection. Then they wonder why they feel tired all the time, why their weight keeps increasing, why their health is declining. The answer is simple, but not easy. You cannot outrun a bad diet. You cannot supplement your way out of poor nutrition. Your body is literally built from what you eat. Every cell, every tissue, every organ is constructed from the nutrients you provide, or deteriorates from the junk you consume. Think about what happens when you eat real food. Food that comes from nature, that was recently alive, that your great-grandmother would recognize as food. Fresh vegetables full of vitamins and fiber. Fruits bursting with antioxidants and natural sweetness. Lean proteins that build and repair your tissues. Healthy fats that support your brain and hormones. Whole grains that provide steady energy. Clean water that hydrates every system. When you eat this way consistently, your body works the way it was designed to work. Your energy stabilizes throughout the day instead of spiking and crashing. Your mood improves because your brain has the nutrients it needs to produce feel-good chemicals. Your skin glows. Your eyes brighten. Your digestion smooths out. Your immune system strengthens. Your risk of disease plummets. You look better, feel better, and live better. Now think about what happens when you eat processed food. Food that comes in boxes and bags, that contains ingredients you cannot pronounce, that was created in factories to be addictive rather than nutritious. Refined sugars that spike your blood glucose and crash your energy. Trans fats that clog your arteries and inflame your body. Artificial chemicals that confuse your hormones and stress your liver. Excessive salt that raises your blood pressure. Empty calories that fill your stomach but starve your cells. When you eat this way consistently, your body struggles. It tries its best to deal with what you are giving it. But over time, the damage accumulates. You gain weight, not because you are lazy, but because these foods are designed to override your natural fullness signals. You feel tired, not because you need more sleep, but because your cells are not getting real energy. You get sick more often, not because germs are getting stronger, but because your immune system is compromised. The habit of eating well begins with awareness. Start noticing what you eat and how it makes you feel. Really pay attention. Notice that after you eat fast food, you feel sluggish and regretful. Notice that after you eat a colorful salad with protein, you feel energized and proud. Notice that sugar gives you a quick high followed by a hard crash. Notice that water refreshes you in ways that soda never does. Your body is constantly giving you feedback, but you have to listen. Most people ignore these signals or never learn to recognize them. Once you start paying attention, once you make the connection between what you eat and how you feel, changing your habits becomes much easier because you are motivated by direct experience rather than abstract health advice. Another key to eating well is planning and preparation. When you are hungry, you will eat whatever is available, and if what is available is junk, you will eat junk. But if you prepare healthy meals in advance, if you stock your kitchen with nutritious options, if you make the healthy choice the easy choice, you set yourself up for success. This does not mean you need to become a chef or spend hours cooking. It means learning a few simple healthy recipes, doing some basic meal prep on the weekend, keeping healthy snacks visible and accessible, and making garbage food inconvenient by not buying it in the first place. Many people resist changing their eating habits because they believe healthy food is boring or tasteless. This belief is based on old information and limited experience. Healthy food can be incredibly delicious when you learn how to season it, cook it, and combine it properly. Fresh vegetables roasted with herbs taste amazing. Grilled chicken with spices is satisfying and flavorful. Fruit is nature's candy. Smoothies can be both nutritious and delightful. The truth is that once you stop eating hyper-processed foods full of artificial flavors, your taste buds reset. Real food starts tasting better. You begin to appreciate subtle flavors, natural sweetness, the satisfaction of nourishment. There is also wisdom in understanding that eating well does not mean never enjoying treats or being rigid and joyless about food. It means that most of the time, the majority of your meals, you choose nourishment. You follow what some call the 80-20 rule, where 80% of your eating is clean and healthy, and 20% allows for flexibility, enjoyment, and special occasions. This approach is sustainable because it does not require perfection. It allows you to be human, to enjoy birthday cake, to have pizza with friends, to indulge sometimes without guilt, knowing that your overall pattern is one of health. Hydration deserves special mention because it is so simple yet so neglected. Your body is roughly 60% water. Every system, every function, every process depends on adequate hydration. Yet most people walk around chronically dehydrated, mistaking thirst for hunger, drinking coffee and soda instead of water, wondering why they feel tired and foggy. The habit of drinking enough water throughout the day is incredibly powerful. It costs almost nothing, requires minimal effort, and delivers tremendous benefits. Better energy, clearer thinking, healthier skin, improved digestion, reduced headaches, better physical performance. Start your day with water. Keep water near you always. Drink before you are thirsty. Make it automatic. Sleep. In a world that glorifies busyness, that celebrates the hustle, that treats sleep as laziness or wasted time, we have lost touch with one of the most fundamental needs of human existence. Sleep is not optional. It is not a luxury. It is not something you can cheat or minimize without consequences. Sleep is the foundation upon which everything else is built. Without adequate quality sleep, your health crumbles, your performance suffers, your mood deteriorates, your relationships strain, and your life becomes harder in every measurable way. The habit of prioritizing sleep, of treating it as sacred, of creating conditions that allow deep restorative rest is perhaps the most undervalued habit in modern society. Think about how you feel after a terrible night of sleep. Everything is harder. Your patience disappears. Small problems feel like catastrophes. Focus is impossible. Memory fails you. You reach for caffeine and sugar to compensate, creating more problems. Your judgment is impaired as if you were drunk. You are irritable with people you love. Work that normally takes an hour takes 3. You promise yourself you will sleep better tonight. But then you stay up late again, scrolling, worrying. The cycle continues. Day after day, month after month, year after year, many people accumulate sleep debt that they can never fully repay, wearing their exhaustion like a badge of honor, bragging about functioning on 4 hours of sleep, as if self-destruction were admirable. Now think about how you feel after a genuinely good night of sleep. You wake up naturally, feeling refreshed. Your mind is clear and sharp. Challenges seem manageable. Your mood is positive. Energy flows through you without artificial stimulation. You are kind and patient. Creative ideas come easily. Physical tasks feel lighter. You make better decisions. You enjoy life more fully. This is not luck. This is what human beings are supposed to feel like when we give our bodies what they need. During sleep, your body and brain do essential maintenance work that cannot happen while you are awake. Your brain clears out toxic waste products that accumulate during the day. Memories are consolidated and integrated. Learning is processed and stored. emotions are regulated and balanced. Your immune system strengthens and repairs. Muscles recover and grow. Hormones are balanced and produced. Cells throughout your body regenerate. All of this happens automatically while you sleep. But only if you sleep deeply enough and long enough. When you cut sleep short or sleep poorly, these processes are interrupted. The work does not get finished. Problems accumulate. Systems break down. The habit of good sleep begins with understanding that sleep is not something that happens to you. Sleep is something you create through your choices and environment. Most people with sleep problems have sleep hygiene problems. They keep irregular schedules, going to bed at different times each night, confusing their body's internal clock. They use screens right up until bed, bathing their brains in blue light that suppresses melatonin production. They keep their bedrooms too warm, too bright, or too noisy. They drink caffeine late in the day. They exercise too close to bedtime. They eat heavy meals before sleep. They use their bed for everything except sleep, teaching their brain that bed is for watching television or working rather than sleeping. Then they wonder why sleep is so difficult. Creating a sleep sanctuary means designing your bedroom and bedtime routine to support rest. Your bedroom should be cool, around 65 degrees if possible, because your body temperature needs to drop to sleep deeply. It should be dark, truly dark, with blackout curtains or an eye mask, because even small amounts of light can disrupt sleep quality. It should be quiet or filled with consistent white noise that masks sudden sounds. Your bed should be comfortable, your pillows supportive, your sheets clean. These physical factors matter more than most people realize. Your bedtime routine is equally important. An hour before sleep, begin winding down. Dim the lights in your home, signaling to your body that night is coming. Turn off screens or at least use blue light filters. Do calming activities like reading, stretching, meditation, or gentle conversation. Take a warm bath or shower, which helps trigger the temperature drop that facilitates sleep. Write in a journal if thoughts are racing, getting worries out of your head and onto paper. Practice gratitude, reminding yourself of good things, priming your subconscious for positive dreams. This transition time is crucial because you cannot go from high-speed activity to deep sleep instantly. You need a runway, a gentle slope down from wakefulness to rest. Consistency is perhaps the most important factor in good sleep. Your body thrives on rhythm and routine. When you go to bed at roughly the same time every night and wake up at roughly the same time every morning, even on weekends, you strengthen your circadian rhythm. Your body learns when to produce melatonin, when to lower your temperature, when to slow your systems down. Sleep becomes easier and more natural. Irregular schedules, especially when combined with weekend sleep binges where you try to catch up, actually make sleep problems worse by constantly confusing your body's internal clock. Many people struggle with racing thoughts at bedtime, lying awake worrying about tomorrow or replaying today. This happens partly because modern life is so stimulating that we never truly process our experiences and emotions. We move from one thing to the next all day, consuming information constantly, never pausing to digest. Then when we finally stop, when we lie down in the quiet darkness, everything we avoided all day comes flooding in. The habit of daily reflection, even just 10 minutes in the afternoon or early evening, can dramatically improve sleep by allowing you to process thoughts and feelings before bedtime. Writing in a journal, talking with a trusted friend, or simply sitting quietly and letting your mind wander helps clear the mental clutter that otherwise keeps you awake. There is also wisdom in understanding what not to do about sleep problems. Many people turn to sleeping pills, alcohol, or other substances to force sleep. These approaches might make you unconscious, but they do not produce the natural sleep architecture that your body needs. The sleep you get while medicated or intoxicated is not fully restorative. You miss out on important sleep stages. You wake up groggy. You build dependency. Natural sleep is always superior when you can achieve it through habit and environment. Presence. Your mind is almost never where your body is. Right now, even as these words flow through your consciousness, part of your mind is probably somewhere else. Thinking about tomorrow, replaying yesterday, worrying about something, planning something, judging something. This is the human condition. We live in our heads more than we live in reality. We miss the only moment that actually exists. This present moment, because we're lost in mental stories about past moments that are gone forever and future moments that might never come. This constant mental time travel creates most of our suffering. Anxiety is living in the future. Depression is living in the past. Peace is living in the present. The habit of presence, of training your mind to be here now, is perhaps the most transformative and challenging habit you can develop. Think about a moment when you were completely present. Maybe you were in nature, overwhelmed by beauty. Maybe you were with someone you love, fully connected. Maybe you were doing something that completely absorbed your attention. In these moments, there was no worry, no regret, no judgment, no mental chatter. There was just being, just experiencing, just aliveness. These moments feel special and rare, but they are only rare because we have trained our minds to wander. Presence is actually our natural state. Watch a young child play, completely absorbed in the game, utterly unconcerned with past or future. We were all like that once. We can learn to access that state again. The habit of presence is often called mindfulness, meditation, or awareness practice. At its core, it is the practice of noticing where your attention is and gently bringing it back to the present moment, over and over and over and over again. Your attention will wander. That is not failure. That is normal. The practice is in noticing the wandering and returning. Each time you return, you strengthen the mental muscle of presence. Over time, with consistent practice, you spend more of your life actually living it rather than thinking about it. The simplest way to practice presence is through breath awareness. Your breath is always happening now. It cannot happen in the past or future. So when you put your attention on your breath, you anchor yourself in the present moment. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and simply notice your breathing. Feel the air moving in through your nose. Feel your chest or belly rising and falling. Feel the slight pause between inhale and exhale. Do not try to change your breath. Just watch it. Within seconds, your mind will wander. You will start thinking about something. The moment you notice you are thinking, gently return your attention to your breath. No judgment, no frustration. Just return. That is the practice. When you practice this daily, even for just 5 or 10 minutes, it changes your brain in measurable ways. Studies using brain scans show that regular meditation increases gray matter in areas associated with learning, memory, and emotional regulation. It decreases gray matter in the amygdala, the part of your brain responsible for fear and stress responses. It strengthens the connection between different brain regions. It literally rewires your neural pathways, making presence easier and more natural over time. But beyond the science, beyond what shows up on scans, something else happens. You begin to understand at a deep level that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that observes thoughts. This realization is profoundly liberating. Most people are completely identified with their thinking. They believe they are the voice in their head. When the voice says you are not good enough, they believe it. When the voice worries and catastrophizes, they feel the fear as truth. When the voice judges others, they take on that negativity. But through presence practice, you create space between awareness and thought. You see thoughts arise and pass away like clouds in the sky. Some thoughts are useful. Some are nonsense. Some are true. Some are lies. You develop the ability to choose which thoughts deserve your attention and energy, and which thoughts you can simply let drift by. This skill has enormous practical benefits. When stress arises, instead of being swept away by it, you can observe it, breathe with it, and respond wisely rather than react unconsciously. When anger appears, you can feel it in your body, notice the thought patterns trying to justify it, and choose whether to express it or let it go. When fear tries to stop you from doing something important, you can acknowledge it, thank it for trying to protect you, and do the thing anyway. You become the master of your inner world rather than its slave. Presence practice does not require sitting meditation, though that is a powerful form. You can practice presence during any activity by simply paying full attention to what you are doing. When you wash dishes, feel the warm water on your hands. Notice the smell of soap. Hear the sound of plates clinking. When you walk, feel your feet touching the ground. Notice the movement of your legs. Observe your surroundings. When you eat, taste your food. Chew slowly. Appreciate the flavors and textures. When you listen to someone, truly listen without planning your response, without judgment, without distraction. Every moment is an opportunity to practice presence. Many people resist presence practice because they think they cannot meditate, that their mind is too busy, that they are doing it wrong. This is misunderstanding. A busy mind is not a meditation problem. A busy mind is why we need meditation. The point is not to stop thoughts. The point is to change your relationship with thoughts. Even after years of practice, your mind will still wander. The difference is that you will notice faster, return easier, and be much less controlled by mental noise. There is also something deeply spiritual about presence, regardless of your religious or philosophical beliefs. When you are fully present, you touch something larger than yourself. Call it consciousness, awareness, the universe, God, whatever word resonates with you. You realize you are part of something infinite, that your small self, with all its worries and desires, is held within something vast and loving. This is not intellectual understanding. This is direct experience. And once you taste it, once you feel that connection, you want to return to it again and again. Focus. In an age of infinite distraction, the ability to focus deeply on a single task has become a superpower. Most people have lost this ability or never developed it. They check their phone dozens of times per hour. They switch between tasks constantly, mistaking busyness for productivity. They start projects, but never finish them. They skim surfaces, but never dive deep. They wonder why they feel scattered, why their work is mediocre, why they cannot seem to make real progress on anything important. The answer is simple. They have not developed the habit of focus. Your attention is your most valuable resource. It is more valuable than your time, your money, or your talent. Where your attention goes, your energy flows, and your life grows. If your attention is scattered, your results will be scattered. If your attention is focused, your results will be focused. Yet, we live in an economy designed to steal your attention, to fragment it, to keep you distracted and consuming. Social media platforms employ teams of engineers and psychologists to make their apps as addictive as possible. News outlets use outrage and fear to keep you clicking. Entertainment is available instantly at all times. Your phone buzzes, beeps, and lights up constantly, training you like a laboratory animal to respond immediately to every stimulus. The habit of focus requires recognizing these forces and deliberately resisting them. It means creating boundaries around your attention, protecting it like you would protect any valuable asset. It means turning off notifications, putting your phone in another room, blocking distracting websites during work hours, saying no to interruptions, creating space for deep work. These actions feel hard at first because you have been conditioned to stay connected, to be available, to respond immediately. You might feel anxiety when you disconnect. You might worry you are missing something. This is withdrawal. You're addicted to distraction. And like any addiction, breaking free requires discomfort. Focus is a muscle that strengthens with use and weakens with neglect. When you practice focusing on one thing for extended periods, you get better at it. When you constantly switch between tasks, you train yourself to be distractible. Research shows that it takes an average of 23 minutes to fully return to a task after an interruption. This means that if you're interrupted every 15 minutes, you literally never achieve deep focus. You spend your entire day in a shallow state, accomplishing far less than you could, feeling exhausted because shallow work is mentally draining and producing mediocre results. Deep work, the kind of focused effort that produces truly valuable outcomes, requires long, uninterrupted blocks of time. This might mean 2 hours working on an important project with no email, no messages, no interruptions. It might mean 90 minutes of writing, thinking, creating, problem-solving. During these blocks, you go deep enough that time seems to disappear. You forget yourself. You become absorbed in the work. This state is called flow, and it is where your best work happens. It is also where you find joy and meaning because human beings are happiest when they are fully engaged in challenging work that matters to them. The habit of focus begins with clarity about what deserves your attention. Most people try to do too many things at once. They have 20 goals, 14 projects, and unlimited distractions, and they wonder why nothing moves forward. Clarity requires choosing. What are the few things that really matter? What will have the biggest impact on your life? What aligns with your values and long-term vision? Once you identify these priorities, you can ruthlessly eliminate or delegate everything else. This is not easy because it means saying no to good opportunities in order to say yes to great ones. It means disappointing some people. It means accepting that you cannot do everything, but this is the price of excellence. Scattered attention produces scattered results. Focused attention produces scattered results. Focused attention produces extraordinary results. Creating focus also requires managing your energy, not just your time. You have a limited amount of mental energy each day, often called willpower or decision fatigue. This energy is highest in the morning and depletes throughout the day as you make decisions and exert self-control. Understanding this rhythm allows you to schedule your most important, most demanding work during your peak energy hours. For most people, this is the morning. Do your hardest thinking, your most creative work, your highest value tasks when your mental energy is fresh. Save routine tasks, emails, and administrative work for later when your energy is lower. Your environment shapes your ability to focus more than you might realize. Some environments are designed for distraction. Others support deep work. If you work surrounded by noise, interruptions, and visual clutter, focus will be a constant battle. If you work in a quiet, organized, dedicated space, focus comes much easier. This does not mean you need a perfect home office or expensive equipment. It means being intentional about where and how you work. Maybe you go to a library. Maybe you use noise-canceling headphones. Maybe you work early before others wake up. Maybe you communicate clear boundaries with people you live with. Small changes in environment can create massive changes in productivity. There is also wisdom in understanding that focus requires rest. You cannot maintain intense focus for 8 straight hours. Your brain needs breaks, but not all breaks are equal. Checking social media is not a restorative break. It is switching to a different kind of mental demand. True rest for your focused mind comes from stepping away from all screens, from going for a walk, from letting your mind wander, from moving your body, from looking at nature, from human connection. These breaks allow your subconscious to process what you have been working on. Often, your best insights come not during focused work, but during restful breaks afterward. Many people feel guilty about taking breaks, believing that productivity means constant activity. This is backwards. Strategic rest makes you more productive, not less. Athletes understand that muscles grow during rest, not during training. The same is true for your brain. Push hard during focus blocks, then rest genuinely. This rhythm of intensity and recovery allows sustained high performance over time, whereas constant moderate effort leads to mediocrity and burnout. Discomfort. Comfort is seductive. It promises ease, safety, predictability. It whispers that you have worked hard enough, that you deserve to relax, that there is no need to push yourself anymore. Most people listen to this voice. They arrange their entire lives around avoiding discomfort. They stay in jobs they hate because change is uncomfortable. They remain in unhealthy relationships because being alone is uncomfortable. They avoid difficult conversations because conflict is uncomfortable. They never pursue their dreams because uncertainty is uncomfortable. And so they live small, safe, comfortable lives, wondering why they feel so unfulfilled, why there is a quiet desperation beneath the surface, why they keep having the nagging feeling that they were meant for something more. The truth that most people never learn is this: everything you want in life is on the other side of discomfort. Growth requires discomfort. Change requires discomfort. Excellence requires discomfort. Love requires vulnerability, which is deeply uncomfortable. Achievement requires effort, which is uncomfortable. Learning requires confusion and failure, which are uncomfortable. If you are not willing to be uncomfortable, you are not willing to grow, and if you are not growing, you are slowly dying. This does not mean you should seek suffering or be reckless. It means you should intentionally do things that challenge you, that scare you a little, that push you beyond your current limits. The habit of embracing discomfort is the habit of courage. It is choosing to act despite fear, not because you are not afraid, but because your commitment to growth is stronger than your desire for comfort. Every time you do something uncomfortable, you expand your capacity. Your comfort zone grows. What once terrified you becomes manageable. You prove to yourself that you are more capable than you believed. This compounds over time. Small acts of courage lead to bigger acts. Eventually, you become the kind of person who does not shy away from challenges, who runs toward opportunity rather than from it, who lives boldly rather than timidly. Think about the areas of your life where you avoid discomfort. Maybe you avoid exercise because it is physically uncomfortable. Maybe you avoid networking or public speaking because social situations make you anxious. Maybe you avoid starting a business or creative project because the possibility of failure is terrifying. Maybe you avoid honest communication because you do not want to upset anyone. Each of these avoidances keeps you stuck. Each one prevents you from becoming who you could be. And each one is based on the false belief that comfort is more important than growth. The way to build the habit of discomfort is to start small and be consistent. Choose one thing that makes you slightly uncomfortable and do it regularly. Maybe you take cold showers, which are intensely uncomfortable for 60 seconds, but train your mind to push through resistance. Maybe you speak up in meetings even when your voice shakes. Maybe you go to the gym even when you do not feel like it. Maybe you write even when you feel like it have nothing to say. Maybe you write even when you feel like you have nothing to say. Maybe you reach out to someone even when you fear rejection. These small acts of courage might seem insignificant, but they are training your nervous system, teaching your brain that discomfort is not dangerous, building your tolerance for challenge. There is a profound difference between pain and discomfort. Pain signals that something is wrong, that you are injured or in danger. Discomfort signals that you are growing, that you are at your edge, that you are expanding beyond your previous limits. Learning to distinguish between these two signals is crucial. If you treat all discomfort as pain, as a sign to stop, you will never grow. If you ignore real pain, you will injure yourself. Wisdom is knowing the difference. Discomfort usually feels like resistance, like not wanting to do something but being able to. Pain usually feels sharp, alarming, like your body or mind screaming at you to stop. Honor pain. Push through discomfort. Many people avoid discomfort because they believe they should always feel happy, always feel good, always be positive. This is a toxic belief created by advertising and social media. Real life includes difficult emotions, challenging situations, uncomfortable truths. The goal is not to avoid these experiences, but to develop the capacity to move through them with grace and resilience. When you stop running from discomfort, when you turn toward it and feel it fully, you discover that it cannot actually harm you. It is just a sensation, just an emotion, just a temporary state. It will pass. Everything passes. There is also something deeply valuable in voluntary discomfort, in choosing challenges that you do not have to face but that make you stronger. This is why people run marathons, climb mountains, practice fasting, do hard physical training. Not because they have to, but because voluntary hardship builds character, discipline, and confidence in ways that comfort never can. When you know you can endure difficulty by choice, when you know you can push through when things get hard, you face involuntary challenges with much more resilience. Life will give you plenty of difficulties you did not choose. Training yourself in voluntary discomfort prepares you for those moments. The habit of discomfort also connects to decision-making, often the right decision. The decision that will move your life forward is the uncomfortable one. If you always choose comfort, you will always choose the path of least resistance, which usually leads nowhere important. If you develop the habit of asking yourself what the hard thing is, and then doing it, you will be amazed at how quickly your life transforms. Have the uncomfortable conversation. Make the risky investment. Start the difficult project. Leave the comfortable but unfulfilling situation. These decisions feel terrifying in the moment, but 6 months or a year later, you will look back and realize they were the turning points, the moments when everything changed. Gratitude. Most people spend their lives focused on what is missing, what is wrong, what they do not have yet. They climb toward goals, always looking up at the next rung, never pausing to appreciate how far they have climbed. They compare themselves to others who have more, generating endless envy and dissatisfaction. They replay their mistakes, their regrets, their failures, creating suffering from the past. They worry about the future, imagining all the ways things could go wrong. And in this constant state of lack, of not enoughness, they completely miss the abundance that already surrounds them. They miss the miracle of being alive, the gift of another day, the countless blessings both large and small that fill their lives. Gratitude is the antidote to this suffering. Gratitude is the practice of intentionally noticing and appreciating what is good, what is working, what you have, rather than what you lack. It sounds simple, almost simplistic, yet the habit of practicing gratitude regularly is one of the most scientifically validated ways to increase happiness, reduce depression, improve relationships, and enhance overall life satisfaction. When you train your brain to look for things to be grateful for, you literally rewire your neural pathways. You become someone who sees abundance instead of scarcity, who notices beauty instead of ugliness, who feels connected instead of isolated. Think about what you have right now that you once desperately wanted. Maybe it is your home, which once seemed impossibly out of reach. Maybe it is your job, which you were so excited to get. Maybe it is your relationship, which brought you to tears of joy in the beginning. Maybe it is simply being healthy, walking without pain, seeing clearly, breathing easily. You have these things now, but do you appreciate them? Or have they become so familiar that you no longer notice them? This is the curse of adaptation. Humans get used to their circumstances remarkably quickly. What once made you grateful becomes invisible. The habit of gratitude fights against this tendency. reminding you constantly of how fortunate you are. The practice of gratitude can be simple. Every morning or every night, write down 3 things you are grateful for. They do not need to be big things. You can be grateful for hot coffee, for a comfortable bed, for a friend who made you laugh, for sunshine, for your health, for food in your refrigerator. The specificity matters. Instead of writing, "I am grateful for my family," write, "I am grateful for the way my daughter hugged me this morning," or "I am grateful for the conversation I had with my partner about our dreams." Specific gratitude connects you to actual moments, to real experiences, making the practice more powerful. When you do this consistently, something shifts inside you. You start noticing more things to be grateful for throughout the day. Your brain begins actively searching for the good, for the beautiful, for the fortunate. This does not mean you ignore problems or become unrealistic. It means you develop a balanced perspective. Yes, there are challenges. Yes, there are difficulties. But there is also so much good, so much beauty, so much to appreciate. Both things are true, and choosing to focus on gratitude does not deny difficulty. It simply refuses to let difficulty be the only story. Gratitude is especially powerful in relationships. When you appreciate people out loud, when you tell them specifically what you are grateful for about them, you strengthen the bond. Too often, people take each other for granted. They notice when things go wrong, but forget to acknowledge when things go right. A simple "thank you" or "I appreciate you" can transform a relationship. When someone feels genuinely appreciated, they blossom. They feel seen, valued, motivated to show up even more fully. This creates a positive cycle where appreciation generates more to appreciate. There is also gratitude in difficult times, though this is harder to access. When challenges arise, when life knocks you down, when things fall apart, gratitude can seem impossible or even insulting. Yet this is when gratitude becomes most powerful. Not gratitude for the difficulty itself necessarily, but gratitude for what the difficulty reveals, for the strength you discover in yourself, for the people who show up to help, for the lessons hidden in the struggle. This is not toxic positivity. This is mature wisdom, the understanding that growth often comes through challenge, that darkness makes you appreciate light, that loss teaches you what truly matters. Many people find it helpful to practice gratitude for the difficult things in their past, things that hurt at the time but led to where they are now, the job you lost that forced you to find better work, the relationship that ended that made space for the right person, the failure that taught you humility and perseverance, the illness that showed you how precious health is. When you can look back and find gratitude even in the hard times, you develop a trust that everything, even current difficulties, will eventually serve you somehow. Gratitude also shifts your relationship with material desires. There is nothing wrong with wanting things, with having goals, with striving to improve your circumstances. But when desire comes from a place of feeling insufficient, of believing you need these things to be happy, it creates suffering. When desire comes from a place of already feeling grateful, of wanting to expand and experience more from a foundation of contentment, it feels completely different. You can pursue goals without desperation, without anxiety, because you already feel fundamentally okay. Success becomes a bonus rather than a requirement for happiness. Another beautiful aspect of gratitude is that it connects you to something larger than yourself. When you feel grateful, you implicitly acknowledge that you have received gifts, that you are not entirely self-made, that you are part of a web of relationships and circumstances that support you. This humility is grounding. It prevents arrogance. It opens your heart. Whether you feel grateful to other people, to nature, to the universe, to God, that sense of connection is deeply nourishing. It reminds you that you belong, that you are held, that you are not alone. Power of words. Words are not neutral. They are not mere sounds or symbols without power. Words create reality. Words shape perception. Words build up or tear down. The words you speak to others affect them deeply, entering their minds, influencing their beliefs, changing how they see themselves and the world. But even more importantly, the words you speak to yourself determine who you become. Your internal dialogue, that constant stream of self-talk that narrates your life, is either your greatest ally or your worst enemy. Most people have never paid attention to how they talk to themselves, never noticed the harsh criticism, the catastrophizing, the self-defeating narratives that run on repeat. And because they have never noticed, they have never changed it. The habit of conscious language, of choosing your words deliberately both internally and externally, is profoundly transformative. It requires becoming aware of your habitual thought patterns and speech patterns, and then intentionally shifting them toward truth, kindness, and empowerment. This is not about lying to yourself or engaging in fake positivity. This is about refusing to be needlessly cruel to yourself, about speaking with integrity, about using language as a tool for growth rather than self-sabotage. Think about how you talk to yourself when you make a mistake. Do you say, "I am so stupid"? Or do you say, "I made a mistake and I will learn from it"? Do you say, "I always mess everything up"? Or do you say, "This one thing did not go as planned"? The difference might seem small, but these linguistic choices compound over time. When you label yourself with permanent negative identities, you reinforce them. When you speak about mistakes as temporary events, you leave room for growth. Your subconscious mind does not distinguish between true and false statements. It simply absorbs what you tell it repeatedly and works to make it true. If you constantly tell yourself you are not good enough, your subconscious will find ways to prove you right. If you tell yourself you are capable and learning, your subconscious will support that reality instead. Affirmations, when done correctly, are a powerful tool for reprogramming your self-talk. An affirmation is a positive statement about yourself that you repeat regularly, ideally while feeling the emotion of it being true. The key is that affirmations must be believable to work. If you are broke and you repeat, "I am a millionaire," your mind will reject it as obvious falsehood. But if you say, "I am learning to manage money wisely," or "I am taking steps toward financial freedom," your mind can accept this, and it guides your behavior accordingly. Affirmations work best when they focus on identity, on who you are becoming, rather than on circumstances you do not yet have. The words you speak to others are equally important. You have no idea how much power your words carry in someone else's life. A single sentence of encouragement can sustain someone through a difficult time. A compliment can change someone's entire day. Expressing belief in someone can give them the courage to try. Equally, careless words can wound deeply. Criticism can crush confidence. Gossip can destroy reputations. Lies can shatter trust. The habit of speaking with intention, of pausing before you speak to consider the impact of your words, saves you from countless regrets and builds relationships of genuine connection and trust. There is an ancient teaching that says before you speak, ask yourself 3 questions. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? If your words do not meet all 3 criteria, perhaps they do not need to be spoken. This does not mean avoiding difficult truths or never giving honest feedback. It means doing so with kindness and purpose, not with cruelty or ego. It means that gossip fails this test, because while it might be true and feel necessary to share, it is not kind and often not truly necessary. It means that harsh criticism fails because even if true and meant to help, it can usually be expressed more kindly. Another aspect of conscious language is learning to speak with precision and accuracy. Many people exaggerate constantly, using words like always and never and everyone and no one. This sloppy language creates distorted thinking. "You never listen to me" is probably false and will make the other person defensive. I felt unheard in that conversation is accurate and opens dialogue. I always fail is a lie that creates helplessness. I have failed at this specific thing is true and leaves room for success elsewhere. Precise language creates clear thinking. Clear thinking creates better decisions. Better decisions create better outcomes. The language of victimhood versus empowerment is particularly important. Victim language focuses on what is being done to you, on how you have no control, on blaming others or circumstances. They made me angry. I had no choice. It is not my fault. This language, even when circumstances are genuinely difficult, strips you of power. Empowered language focuses on your agency, your choices, your responses. I felt angry when they did that. I chose the best option I could see at the time. I am responsible for my response. This language, even when circumstances are genuinely difficult, keeps your power intact. Complaining is another linguistic habit worth examining. Everyone complains sometimes, and there is a place for venting or processing difficulty through conversation. But chronic complaining, the habit of constantly focusing on what is wrong, creates a negative mental loop. You train your brain to look for problems. You exhaust the people around you. You become identified with dissatisfaction. The alternative is not pretending everything is perfect. The alternative is acknowledging difficulties without dwelling on them, seeking solutions instead of just expressing frustration, and balancing complaints with appreciation. The questions you ask yourself are a form of internal language that powerfully shapes your experience. Disempowering questions like, "Why does this always happen to me?" or "Why am I so stupid?" lead your mind in negative directions. Empowering questions like, "What can I learn from this?" or "How can I grow from this challenge?" lead your mind towards solutions and growth. Your brain will answer whatever question you ask it. So ask better questions. Simplicity. You own too much. You do too much. You think too much. Your life is cluttered with possessions you do not use, obligations you do not want, thoughts you do not need. This clutter is not neutral. It drains your energy, occupies your attention, creates stress, and prevents you from focusing on what truly matters. Modern consumer culture constantly pushes more. More stuff, more experiences, more information, more. But the path to peace, to clarity, to effectiveness runs in the opposite direction. The habit of simplicity, of regularly removing the non-essential to make room for the essential, is a powerful practice that few people understand and even fewer implement. Think about your physical space. How much of what you own do you actually use and value? If you are like most people, you use about 20% of what you own 80% of the time. The rest sits in closets and drawers and storage units, unused but not forgotten, creating a subtle mental burden. Every possession you own takes up space, requires maintenance, demands decisions. Should I keep this? Where should I put this? Do I still need this? This mental overhead is exhausting. When you simplify, when you let go of things that do not serve you, you create physical and mental space. You breathe easier. Your environment becomes calmer. Cleaning becomes faster. You appreciate what you have more, because there is less to appreciate, so you can focus your appreciation. The practice of simplifying possessions does not mean living like a monk, unless you want to. It means being intentional about what you allow into your space and what you keep. Before buying something new, ask yourself if you truly need it, if it will add real value to your life, if you have space for it, if you are willing to maintain it. For things you already own, periodically go through your belongings and honestly assess each item. Do you use it? Do you love it? Does it serve a purpose? If the answer is no to all three, consider letting it go. Donate it, sell it, give it to someone who will use it. Releasing possessions that no longer serve you is not loss. It is liberation. Simplicity applies to your schedule as well. Most people are absurdly overscheduled, running from one obligation to the next, constantly busy but rarely productive, always tired but unable to rest. Every yes you give to something is a no to something else. When you say yes to every request, every invitation, every opportunity, you say no to rest, to focus, to the things that matter most. The habit of simplifying your schedule means learning to say no, to protect your time as fiercely as you protect your money, to understand that you cannot do everything and that trying to do everything means doing nothing well. Look at your calendar. How many commitments are there because you genuinely want them versus because you felt obligated or were unable to say no? How many activities drain you rather than energize you? How much white space is there? How much unscheduled time to think, to rest, to be spontaneous? If your calendar is packed solid, you are not in control of your life. Your schedule is controlling you. Start saying no more often. Remove commitments that do not align with your priorities. Create space. Empty time is not wasted time. It is the space where life happens, where creativity emerges, where relationships deepen, where you remember who you are beneath all the doing. Mental clutter is perhaps the most overlooked form of complexity. Your mind is likely full of unfinished thoughts, unmade decisions, information you do not need, worries about things you cannot control. This mental noise is exhausting. It makes it hard to focus, hard to relax, hard to be present. The practice of mental simplicity involves several habits. First, externalize your thoughts. Write things down instead of trying to remember everything. Keep lists. Use calendars. Create systems so your brain does not have to hold on to information. Second, make decisions quickly on small matters. Do not waste mental energy deliberating about insignificant choices. Third, limit information input. You do not need to consume every piece of news, read every article, or follow every controversy. Choose carefully what you allow into your mind. There is also simplicity in relationships. You cannot maintain deep connections with unlimited people. Real friendship requires time, attention, and energy. Most people spread themselves too thin socially, trying to maintain dozens of shallow relationships instead of nurturing a few deep ones. Quality over quantity applies to relationships as much as anything else. It is okay to let some friendships fade naturally. It is okay to invest more in certain people and less in others. Simplifying your social life means being intentional about who you spend time with, choosing people who energize you, who share your values, who support your growth. Financial simplicity is another powerful form of decluttering. Many people have complex financial lives with multiple bank accounts, credit cards, subscriptions, and investments they do not understand. This complexity creates stress and makes it hard to see the big picture. Simplifying your finances might mean consolidating accounts, canceling subscriptions you do not use, automating bill payments, creating a simple budget you can actually follow. The simpler your financial life, the easier it is to make good decisions and the less mental energy you waste on managing money. The ultimate simplicity is simplicity of purpose. What do you actually want? What really matters to you? Most people have never clearly answered these questions, so they pursue goals they do not care about, chase success as defined by others, and wonder why achievement feels hollow. When you clarify what truly matters to you, when you define your own version of success, everything becomes simpler. Decisions become easier because you have clear criteria. You know what to say yes to and what to say no to. Your energy focuses naturally on your priorities because you have removed the confusion of competing agendas. There is profound peace in simplicity. When your space is clear, your schedule is reasonable, your mind is calm, and your purpose is defined, life becomes easier. Not because your circumstances are perfect, but because you are not fighting against yourself anymore. You have removed the friction, the complexity, the clutter that made everything harder. You have space to breathe, to think, to be. Simplicity is not about deprivation. It is about intention. It is about choosing quality over quantity, depth over breadth, meaning over accumulation. Learning. You will never finish learning, never reach a point where you know everything you need to know, never arrive at complete understanding. This is not a limitation. This is what makes life endlessly interesting, infinitely rich with possibility. The habit of continuous learning, of staying curious, of seeking to understand rather than assume you already do, keeps your mind sharp, your perspective fresh, your life exciting. Yet most people stop learning the moment they leave school. They settle into routines, rely on existing knowledge, close themselves off to new ideas. They become rigid, predictable, boring. Their world shrinks because they have stopped exploring. Their potential stagnates because they have stopped growing. Learning is not just about acquiring information, though information has value. Learning is about transformation, about becoming someone new through understanding. When you truly learn something, you cannot go back to who you were before. Your worldview shifts. Your capabilities expand. Your possibilities multiply. This is why people who commit to lifelong learning have such different lives than people who stop learning. They evolve continuously. They adapt to change. They remain relevant and engaged no matter their age. The habit of learning begins with curiosity, with being genuinely interested in how things work, why people behave as they do, what happened in history, what might happen in the future. Children have natural curiosity. They ask endless questions. They explore everything. They try new things without fear. Somewhere along the way, most people lose this. They become embarrassed by not knowing. They stop asking questions. They pretend to understand things they do not. This is tragic because questions are the doorways to learning, and admitting what you do not know is the first step toward knowing. Reading is perhaps the most accessible and powerful learning tool available. For the price of a book or a library card, you can access the accumulated wisdom of humanity, the insights of experts, the experiences of people vastly different from yourself. Reading expands your mind in ways that nothing else can. It exposes you to ideas you would never encounter in your daily life. It challenges your assumptions. It teaches you how other people think. The habit of reading daily, even just 15 or 20 minutes, compounds into thousands of pages per year, dozens of books, exponential growth in knowledge and understanding. But learning is not limited to books. You can learn from conversations with people who know different things than you do. You can learn from experiences, especially challenging ones that force you to adapt. You can learn from travel, from exposing yourself to different cultures and ways of living. You can learn from podcasts, documentaries, online courses, mentors, mistakes and observations. Learning opportunities are everywhere if you approach life with curiosity rather than assumption. One of the most valuable things you can learn is how to think better. Most people never examine their thinking process. They accept their thoughts as reality, follow their habitual mental patterns, and make the same thinking errors repeatedly. Learning about cognitive biases, logical fallacies, critical thinking, and decision-making frameworks can dramatically improve your life because better thinking leads to better choices. When you understand how your mind can trick you, when you know the common errors in reasoning, you can catch yourself making these mistakes and correct course. Another crucial area of learning is emotional intelligence, the ability to understand and manage your own emotions and navigate the emotions of others. This is not taught in most schools, yet it determines success in relationships and careers more than intellectual intelligence does. Learning to recognize what you are feeling, to understand where emotions come from, to express them appropriately, to empathize with others, to manage conflict constructively. These skills transform every area of life. They can be learned at any age through books, therapy, practice, and reflection. The habit of learning also means being willing to unlearn. to let go of beliefs and ideas that no longer serve you or that were never true in the first place. This is often harder than learning new things because we become attached to our beliefs, especially beliefs that are part of our identity. But clinging to false or outdated ideas because you believed them once is irrational. Strong opinions, weakly held. Be confident enough to take a stand, but humble enough to change your mind when presented with better information. This intellectual humility is a sign of strength, not weakness. Many people fear looking stupid, so they avoid learning anything that might expose their ignorance. This fear keeps them trapped in limited understanding. The truth is that everyone is ignorant about most things. The world is too vast, too complex for any human to understand completely. Experts in one field are beginners in another. Admitting what you do not know and seeking to learn it is admirable. Pretending you know everything is foolish and transparent. Learning also requires patience with yourself. You will not master new skills immediately. You will be confused sometimes. You will make mistakes. This is part of the process. Learning is not a straight line from ignorance to mastery. It is a messy, non-linear journey with plateaus, setbacks, and breakthroughs. If you expect instant understanding, you will give up too quickly. If you accept that learning takes time and persistence, you can enjoy the journey. There is also value in learning things that have no practical purpose, in being curious simply for the joy of understanding. Learn about astronomy even if you will never work for NASA. Study philosophy even if it does not help your career. Learn to play an instrument even if you will never perform. These pursuits enrich your inner life, make you more interesting, connect you to beauty and meaning. Not everything needs a utilitarian purpose. Some things are valuable simply because they expand who you are. Connection. You cannot thrive alone. You were not designed for isolation. Despite the modern myth of the self-made individual who needs nobody, the truth is that human beings are fundamentally social creatures who need connection, belonging, and love to flourish. The quality of your relationships largely determines the quality of your life. People with strong, supportive relationships live longer, heal faster from illness, experience less depression, feel more happiness, and find more meaning in life. People who are lonely and disconnected suffer in every measurable way. Yet modern life makes genuine connection harder to achieve and easier to neglect. We are more connected digitally than ever, but more isolated emotionally. We have hundreds of social media friends, but few people we can call at 3 in the morning. The habit of nurturing relationships, of prioritizing connection, of investing time and energy into the people who matter, is one of the most important habits you can develop. Like all habits, it requires intention and consistency. Relationships do not maintain themselves. They need attention, care, honesty, and effort. Most people take their closest relationships for granted. They assume their partner, family, and friends will always be there, so they put minimal effort into these connections while pursuing careers, hobbies, and strangers on social media. Then they wonder why they feel disconnected, why their relationships feel shallow, why people drift away. Think about your most important relationships. When was the last time you had a deep, meaningful conversation with these people? When did you last tell them specifically what you appreciate about them? When did you last truly listen without distraction, without planning your response, without checking your phone? Most people barely scratch the surface with even their closest relationships. They talk about surface things, tasks, logistics, complaints. They never go deep. They never share their real thoughts, their fears, their dreams, and so they never truly know each other, and they never feel truly known. Vulnerability is the key to deep connection. When you share something real about yourself, something that feels risky to share, you create an opening for intimacy. The other person sees you, the real you, not the persona you present to the world. If they respond with acceptance, with their own vulnerability, a bond forms or strengthens. This is how trust is built, not through grand gestures, but through small acts of honesty. of showing yourself and being accepted. Most people are so afraid of rejection, so defended against being hurt, that they never allow themselves to be vulnerable, and so they never experience real intimacy. They are surrounded by people, but fundamentally alone. The habit of connection includes being present with people. When you are with someone, be with them fully. Put your phone away. Make eye contact. Listen with your whole attention. Ask questions that show genuine interest. Remember what they tell you. Care about their lives. These simple acts are increasingly rare, and therefore increasingly powerful. People are starving for attention, for someone to see them, to really see them. When you give this gift, you become precious to them, and they to you. Connection also requires maintenance. You cannot ignore people for months and expect the relationship to remain strong. Regular contact matters. This does not mean you need to see everyone constantly, but it means reaching out, checking in, showing that you think about them. A text message, a phone call, a visit. Small, consistent efforts maintain relationships. Neglect slowly erodes them. When life gets busy, relationships are often the first thing people sacrifice. This is backwards. Relationships are what make life worth living, what support you through difficulty, what multiply joy in good times. They should be protected, prioritized, cherished. Conflict is inevitable in any relationship. Two different people will eventually want different things, see things differently, hurt each other unintentionally. The habit of healthy conflict resolution is crucial. This means addressing issues directly rather than letting resentment build. It means focusing on the specific behavior or situation rather than attacking character. It means listening to understand rather than to defend. It means apologizing sincerely when you are wrong. It means forgiving when you are hurt. Most relationships end not because of conflict, but because people handle conflict poorly, letting small issues escalate into major wounds. There is also wisdom in choosing your relationships carefully. Not everyone deserves your time and energy. Some people drain you, bring negativity, take without giving, or simply do not value what you value. You are under no obligation to maintain relationships that hurt you or hold you back. Setting boundaries, distancing yourself from toxic people, or ending relationships that cannot be healthy is not cruel. It is self-care. It creates space for relationships that actually nourish you, that make you better, that bring joy rather than stress. The relationships you invest in should be mutual, where both people care, both people make effort, both people give and receive. Relationships where one person does all the work are exhausting and unsustainable. If you are always the one reaching out, always the one making plans, always the one putting in effort, that is information. Maybe the other person is going through something and needs grace, or maybe they do not value the relationship as much as you do, and you need to adjust your expectations or investment accordingly. Family relationships can be especially complex because you did not choose your family, and sometimes family members are difficult, hurtful, or toxic. You can love family members while also protecting yourself from them if necessary. Blood relation does not obligate you to accept mistreatment. Creating boundaries with family is challenging but sometimes necessary for your well-being. On the other hand, when family relationships are healthy, they provide a foundation of belonging and history that nothing else can replace. Investing in healing and strengthening family bonds when possible is valuable work. Friendship in adulthood requires more intention than it did in youth. When you are young, proximity creates friendships. You make friends at school, in your neighborhood, through shared activities. As an adult, you need to actively seek and cultivate friendships. Join groups related to your interests. Invite people to do things. Be the initiator. Be vulnerable first. Making friends as an adult feels awkward for many people, but the alternative is isolation. Taking social risks, reaching out, putting yourself in situations where friendship can develop. These are essential habits. Reflection. Most people move through life on autopilot, reacting to circumstances, repeating patterns, never pausing to examine their choices, their beliefs, their direction. They make the same mistakes repeatedly because they never stop to analyze what went wrong. They miss opportunities for growth because they never reflect on their experiences. They feel stuck because they never take time to think about where they are and where they want to go. The habit of regular reflection, of intentionally pausing to think about your life, is one of the most powerful tools for growth and wisdom. Reflection is different from rumination. Rumination is repetitive negative thinking that goes nowhere, circles of worry and regret that create suffering without insight. Reflection is purposeful thinking, looking at experiences with curiosity rather than judgment, asking yourself questions that lead to understanding and growth. What went well today? What could I have done better? What did I learn? What do I want to remember? What will I do differently tomorrow? These questions transform experience into wisdom. The practice of reflection can take many forms. Journaling is perhaps the most common and effective. Writing forces you to clarify your thoughts, to put fuzzy feelings into concrete words. When you write about your day, your challenges, your feelings, you process them more completely. You see patterns you would not otherwise notice. You track your growth over time. Looking back at old journal entries, you can see how much you have changed, how problems that seemed overwhelming were eventually solved, how your perspective has evolved. This evidence of growth builds confidence and perspective. Some people prefer quiet contemplation to writing, sitting in silence and thinking through their day, their life, their choices. This works well too, though writing has the advantage of creating a record you can revisit. Others talk through their reflections with a trusted friend, therapist, or mentor, using conversation as the vehicle for processing. The specific method matters less than the consistency. Daily reflection, even just 10 minutes before bed, compounds into profound self-knowledge over time. Reflection should include both successes and failures. When something goes well, reflect on why. What did you do that contributed to the success? What can you replicate? Too often, people brush past victories without extracting the lessons, then wonder why success seems random. When something goes poorly, reflect on that too, but with curiosity rather than self-punishment. What factors contributed to the failure? What was within your control? What could you do differently? Failure is only wasted if you do not learn from it. Regular reflection also means periodically zooming out to look at the bigger picture. Daily reflection helps you adjust small things. Monthly or quarterly reflection helps you see larger patterns and make bigger adjustments. Once a month, set aside an hour to think about the past month. What were the highlights, the challenges? What progress did you make toward your goals? What patterns do you notice? What needs to change? This broader perspective prevents you from drifting, from waking up years later wondering how you got so far from where you meant to go. Annual reflection is even more valuable. At the end of each year, before rushing into resolutions for the next, spend time truly reflecting on the year that just passed. Not just major events, but how you changed, what you learned, who you became. What are you proud of? What do you regret? What relationships deepened or ended? What beliefs changed? What do you want to carry forward into the new year? What do you want to leave behind? This practice creates continuity, helps you see your life as a coherent story rather than random events. Reflection also includes examining your beliefs and assumptions. Most people inherit beliefs from their parents, their culture, their early experiences, and never question them. They operate based on assumptions that might not be true, limiting beliefs that hold them back. Periodic examination of your beliefs is essential. Do I really believe this? Or am I just repeating what I was taught? Is this belief helping me or hurting me? Is it based on truth or fear? Being willing to question and change your beliefs as you gain new information and experience is a sign of maturity and wisdom. There is also value in reflecting on your values. What actually matters to you? Not what society says should matter, not what you think you should value, but what you genuinely care about in your heart. Many people are living in conflict with their values, pursuing things that do not actually matter to them, neglecting things that do. When your actions align with your values, you feel integrity and peace. When they conflict, you feel inner turmoil. Regular reflection on whether your life aligns with your values helps you course correct before you drift too far. Reflection can also be future-oriented, not just analyzing the past, but envisioning the future. Who do you want to become? What kind of life do you want to create? What would make you proud when you look back at this year? Regularly connecting with your vision for the future helps you make decisions that support that vision. Without this connection, it is too easy to get lost in immediate demands and forget your larger purpose. One of the most powerful reflection questions is simply, why? Why did I react that way? Why do I want that? Why did that bother me so much? Why am I afraid of this? Why do I keep doing this thing I say I want to stop? Getting to the deeper why beneath your surface behaviors and desires reveals truths about yourself that drive growth. Often the first answer to why is not the real answer. You have to keep asking, keep going deeper, until you reach something true and significant. Money. Money is not evil. Money is not the root of all happiness. Money is a tool, nothing more and nothing less, but like any tool, it must be understood and used skillfully to serve your life rather than dominate it. Most people have a deeply dysfunctional relationship with money, treating it either as something to fear and avoid thinking about, or as something to worship and pursue at any cost. Neither extreme is healthy. The habit of managing money wisely, of understanding how it works, of making it serve your values and goals, is essential for security, freedom, and peace of mind. Think about your current relationship with money. Are you in debt, spending more than you earn, constantly stressed about finances? Or are you earning well but spending it all, trapped on a treadmill when no amount is ever enough? Are you so afraid of losing money that you never invest or take any risks, watching inflation slowly steal your purchasing power? Are you so focused on accumulating wealth that you sacrifice health, relationships, and happiness? Most people fall somewhere on this spectrum of dysfunction, never finding the balance between earning, spending, saving, and investing that creates both security and enjoyment. The foundation of financial health is simple but not easy. Spend less than you earn. This obvious truth is violated by millions of people every month as credit card debt, car loans, and consumer debt pile up. When you spend more than you earn, you are borrowing from your future self, trading tomorrow's freedom for today's consumption. This catches up eventually, creating stress, limiting options, and keeping you trapped in work you might hate because you need the income to service debt. Breaking this cycle requires honesty about your spending, discipline to change habits, and often sacrifice in the short term for stability in the long term. The habit of tracking your spending is transformative but rare. Most people have no idea where their money goes. They earn, they spend, and somehow it is all gone without anything to show for it. Start tracking every dollar for at least 1 month. Write down or use an app to record every purchase, no matter how small. At the end of the month, categorize your spending. How much went to necessities like housing and food? How much to transportation? How much to entertainment, eating out, shopping? The results are usually shocking. People discover they are spending hundreds of dollars per month on things they barely remember buying, on subscriptions they do not use, on impulse purchases that provide momentary pleasure and lasting clutter. Once you know where your money goes, you can make intentional choices. Create a budget, not as a restriction, but as a plan for your money. Decide in advance how much you will spend in each category. making sure necessities are covered first, then savings, then discretionary spending. When you run out of money in a category, you stop spending in that category until next month. This prevents overspending and the anxiety that comes with not knowing if you can afford something. Saving is non-negotiable if you want financial security. The old advice to pay yourself first is still the best advice. When you get paid, immediately move money into savings before you spend anything. Even if you can only save a small amount, saving something builds the habit, and the habit is more important initially than the amount. Over time, as your income grows or your expenses decrease, increase your savings rate. Aim eventually for saving at least 20% of your income, though any amount is better than zero. An emergency fund is your first financial priority beyond covering basic expenses. This is money set aside specifically for unexpected expenses or income loss. Financial experts recommend 3 to 6 months of expenses saved in an easily accessible account. This fund protects you from going into debt when your car breaks down, when you need emergency dental work, when you lose your job. Without this buffer, any surprise becomes a crisis. With it, surprises are inconvenient but manageable. Building this fund takes time, but once you have it, your financial stress decreases dramatically. After establishing an emergency fund, focus on eliminating high-interest debt, especially credit card debt. Credit card interest rates are often 15 to 25%, meaning debt can double in just a few years if you only make minimum payments. This is wealth destruction. Aggressively paying off high-interest debt is one of the best investments you can make because eliminating that interest is like earning that rate of return. Use the avalanche method, paying off the highest interest rate debt first while making minimum payments on others, or the snowball method, paying off the smallest balances first for psychological wins. Either method works as long as you stick with it. Once you are debt-free with an emergency fund, you can focus on building wealth through investing. Money sitting in a savings account loses value over time due to inflation. Invested money has the opportunity to grow. This does not require being a financial genius. Simple, low-cost index funds that track the overall market provide solid returns over long periods with minimal effort. The key is starting early and being consistent, taking advantage of compound growth where your returns generate their own returns. Even small amounts invested regularly can grow into substantial sums over decades. Understanding the difference between assets and liabilities is crucial. Assets put money in your pocket. Liabilities take money out of your pocket. A house you live in is not really an asset, despite what people say, because it costs you money every month in mortgage, maintenance, taxes, and insurance. A rental property that generates more income than expenses is an asset. Stocks and bonds are assets. Your skills and education that allow you to earn income are assets. A car is a liability. Consumer goods are liabilities. The wealthy focus on acquiring assets. The poor and middle class often focus on acquiring liabilities that they mistake for assets. Your income is also a crucial piece of financial health. You can only cut expenses so much. At some point, to achieve your financial goals, you need to increase income. This might mean developing skills that are more valuable in the marketplace, asking for raises, changing jobs, starting a side business, or creating passive income streams. Investing in yourself, in your skills and knowledge, often provides the best return of any investment because it increases your earning potential for the rest of your career. The habit of living below your means, regardless of your income, is what creates wealth. People who earn modest incomes but spend less than they earn build financial security. People who earn high incomes but spend everything, or more than everything, remain on the edge of financial disaster. Wealth is not about how much you earn. Wealth is about how much you keep and grow. This requires resisting lifestyle inflation, the tendency to spend more as you earn more. When you get a raise, save and invest the additional income rather than immediately upgrading your lifestyle. There is also wisdom in understanding that money is meant to be used, not hoarded forever. The goal is not to die with the most money. The goal is to have enough money that you do not have to worry about it constantly, that you have options and freedom, that you can be generous, that you can invest in experiences and things that genuinely enhance your life. Money is a tool for living well, not the point of living. Finding the balance between saving for security and spending on joy is personal, but both elements are important. Solitude. In a world obsessed with connection, collaboration, and constant communication, solitude has become almost suspect. People who spend time alone are often seen as antisocial, lonely, or strange. Yet solitude, chosen intentionally and practiced regularly, is essential for mental health, creativity, and self-knowledge. The habit of spending time alone, truly alone without distractions, allows you to hear your own thoughts, to process your experiences, to reconnect with yourself beneath all the roles you play and masks you wear. Most people are uncomfortable with solitude. They fill every quiet moment with noise, with entertainment, with other people. They are afraid of what they might encounter if they truly sit with themselves. But this avoidance comes at a cost. Think about when you last spent significant time alone without any distractions. No phone, no television, no music, no people. Just you and your thoughts. For many people, this never happens. They wake up to alarms, immediately check their phone, listen to podcasts during their commute, interact with people all day, come home to family or roommates, watch television until bed, and repeat. There is no space for solitude, no time for the internal world, no opportunity to process or reflect deeply. This creates a kind of spiritual exhaustion, a feeling of being disconnected from yourself, of not really knowing what you think or feel because you never stop to find out. Solitude is not loneliness. Loneliness is painful, a feeling of unwanted isolation, of craving connection that is not available. Solitude is chosen, peaceful, restorative. It is time you intentionally carve out to be alone, and it is essential for well-being. Research shows that people who never spend time alone have higher rates of anxiety and depression. They lack the self-knowledge and internal resources that solitude develops. They are dependent on external validation and entertainment to feel okay, which is exhausting and unsustainable. The practice of solitude can take many forms. It might be a daily walk alone in nature, time when you disconnect from all devices and simply exist in the natural world. It might be sitting in silence first thing in the morning, before the demands of the day begin. It might be a longer retreat, a weekend or week spent alone to reset and reflect. It might be as simple as turning off all entertainment for an evening and sitting quietly with a cup of tea. The key is that it is intentional, that you are choosing to be alone and embracing the experience rather than just enduring it. During solitude, without external distractions, you encounter yourself more directly. Thoughts and feelings that you have been avoiding or suppressing come to the surface. This can be uncomfortable, even painful, but it is necessary. You cannot heal what you do not acknowledge. You cannot process emotions you never feel. Solitude creates space for this internal work. You might cry. You might feel angry or sad or afraid. You might have insights about your life, realizations about changes you need to make. These experiences are valuable, even when difficult. Solitude is also where creativity flourishes. When your mind is constantly filled with input from others, there is no space for your own ideas to emerge. But in quiet solitude, when you stop consuming and just allow your mind to wander, creativity bubbles up. Solutions to problems appear. New ideas form. Connections between disparate thoughts create innovation. Many of history's greatest thinkers, artists, and inventors credited solitude as essential to their work. They needed time alone to think, to imagine, to create without the influence or interference of others. The habit of solitude also strengthens your relationship with yourself. You learn to enjoy your own company, to be comfortable in your own presence. This internal security is profoundly liberating. When you do not need other people to feel okay, when you do not need constant entertainment to avoid boredom, you are free. You can choose relationships because you want them, not because you need them. You can enjoy activities for their own sake, not to fill a void. You are complete within yourself, which paradoxically makes you better able to connect authentically with others. Many people fear solitude because they fear boredom. Modern life has conditioned us to expect constant stimulation, to feel that any moment without entertainment or engagement is wasted. But boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the doorway to creativity and self-reflection. When you allow yourself to be bored, when you resist the urge to immediately grab your phone or turn on the television, your mind starts to generate its own entertainment. You start to notice things you normally overlook. You start to think in ways you normally do not. Boredom is uncomfortable because you are not used to it. But if you push through, you discover it is not actually harmful. It is just unfamiliar. Solitude also connects you to something larger than yourself. When you are alone in nature, when you sit in silence, when you stop talking and planning and doing, you can feel your place in the larger web of existence. You are part of something infinite, something that existed before you and will continue after you. This perspective is humbling and comforting. Your problems seem smaller. Your ego softens. You feel held by something greater. This is spirituality without requiring any particular religious belief. It is simply the direct experience of connection to the whole. The practice of solitude does not require giving up relationships or becoming a hermit. It requires balance. Time with others is essential and nourishing. Time alone is equally essential. Most people are out of balance, spending too much time with others and not enough with themselves. If you find yourself exhausted by constant social interaction, craving time alone but never taking it, you are likely in this camp. Give yourself permission to prioritize solitude. Set boundaries. Say no to some social invitations. Turn off your phone regularly. Create pockets of time in your schedule for nothing, for just being alone. Path forward. You have journeyed through the landscape of transformation tonight, exploring the habits that change lives, the practices that separate mediocrity from greatness, the small daily choices that compound into destiny. You have learned about mornings and movement, about food and sleep, about presence and focus, about discomfort and gratitude, about words and simplicity, about learning and connection, about reflection and money, about solitude and self-knowledge. Each of these habits is a thread, and together they weave the fabric of an extraordinary life. But knowledge without action is useless. Understanding without implementation is empty. Tomorrow, when you wake, the real work begins. You cannot adopt all these habits at once. Trying to change everything overnight leads to overwhelm and failure. Instead, choose one. Just one habit that resonates most deeply, that feels most urgent, that you know will create the most impact in your life right now. Maybe it is fixing your morning. Maybe it is moving your body daily. Maybe it is eating better, sleeping better, practicing presence. Maybe it is building focus, embracing discomfort, cultivating gratitude. Maybe it is choosing your words carefully, simplifying your life, learning continuously. Maybe it is nurturing relationships, reflecting regularly, managing money, or seeking solitude. Choose one. Commit to it for 30 days. Make it so small, so manageable that you cannot fail. Not 30 minutes of exercise, but 5. Not a complete diet overhaul, but one healthy meal. Not an hour of meditation, but 5 minutes. Not reading a book per week, but 1 page per day. The key is consistency, not intensity. Doing something small every single day builds the habit, proves to yourself that you can keep a commitment, creates momentum. After 30 days, when the first habit is established, when it feels natural and automatic, then add another, then another. Over time, over months and years, you build a life of powerful habits that support your goals, your values, your vision. You become someone different, someone stronger, someone more intentional. Not through dramatic transformation overnight, but through small, consistent actions repeated until they become who you are. There will be setbacks. You will miss days. You will fall back into old patterns. This is normal and expected. The difference between people who transform their lives and people who remain stuck is not that successful people never fail. It is that they do not let temporary failure become permanent. When you miss a day, when you break your streak, when you fall down, you get back up immediately. You do not wait for Monday, for the first of the month, for New Year's Day. You start again right now. One bad day does not erase weeks of good days. One mistake does not mean you are a failure. It means you are human. Extend your self-compassion, learn from the stumble, and continue forward. Remember why you are doing this. Connect regularly with your vision of the person you want to become, the life you want to create. When motivation fades, and it will fade because motivation is an emotion that comes and goes, your commitment must remain. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you do not feel like it, especially when you do not feel like it. Discipline is freedom. It frees you from the tyranny of your moods, from the prison of your impulses, from the limitations of your current self. Through discipline, through consistent action in alignment with your values and goals, you create the life you dream about. Do not do this alone. Share your goals with someone you trust. Ask for support. Consider finding an accountability partner, someone also working on building better habits, someone you check in with regularly. Join communities of people pursuing similar goals. Read books, listen to podcasts, consume content that reinforces your commitment and teaches you more. Surround yourself with people who are growing, who support your growth, who challenge you to be better. Distance yourself from people who mock your efforts, who tempt you back into old patterns, who are not interested in growth themselves. Track your progress. Keep a journal, a chart, an app, anything that allows you to see your consistency over time. Watching your streak grow is motivating. Seeing how far you have come builds confidence. On days when you feel like nothing is changing, when progress feels impossibly slow, you can look back and see concrete evidence that you are moving forward, that you are different than you were, that the process is working. Celebrate small wins. When you complete a week of your new habit, acknowledge it. When you hit 30 days, celebrate. When you overcome a moment of resistance and do the thing anyway, feel proud. These micro-celebrations reinforce the behavior, make the journey enjoyable, remind you that you are succeeding. Most people only celebrate big achievements and ignore the small victories that make big achievements possible. Honor your progress at every stage. Be patient with yourself and the process. Real change takes time. You did not develop your current habits overnight, and you will not replace them overnight. Trust that small actions, repeated consistently over time, create massive results. Trust that you are building something, that every day you show up you are reinforcing new neural pathways, that every repetition makes the habit easier and more automatic. Trust that who you will be in 6 months, a year, 5 years will barely resemble who you are now if you stay committed to this path. The life you want is available to you. It is not reserved for special people with unique gifts or lucky circumstances. It is available to anyone willing to do the work, to change their habits, to become someone new. You have everything you need already. You have time, though you must choose to use it wisely. You have energy, though you must direct it intentionally. You have capacity, though you must develop it patiently. You have potential, though you must develop it patiently, though you must actualize it through action. Everything you need is within you and around you. All that remains is the decision to begin and the commitment to continue. The habits you build or break over the coming days and weeks and months will determine the trajectory of your entire life. This is not an exaggeration. This is simple truth. Your life is the sum of your habits, and your habits are within your control. No one else can change your habits for you. No one else can change your habits for you. No pill, no program, no perfect circumstance will do it. Only you can decide that tomorrow will be different. Because you will be different. Because you will choose differently. Because you will act differently. The world needs who you can become. The people in your life need the better version of you. Your future self is begging your present self to make the right choices, to build the right habits, to stay committed even when it is hard. You owe it to yourself, to your potential, to the life you could live, to take this seriously, not to be perfect, but to be intentional, not to never fail, but to never quit, not to transform overnight, but to improve daily. Tomorrow morning, the sun will rise on a new day, a fresh start, another opportunity. What you do with that opportunity is entirely up to you. You can return to your old patterns, hitting snooze, grabbing your phone, rushing through your morning, eating poorly, sitting all day, consuming mindlessly, speaking carelessly, living unconsciously. Or you can choose differently. You can wake with intention, move your body, nourish yourself well, work with focus, embrace discomfort, practice presence, speak with care, reflect on your day, and sleep with gratitude. These choices seem small at the moment. They are anything but small. They are everything. The clock is ticking, not to create fear, but to create urgency. You have one life, one precious, finite, miraculous life. How will you spend it? Will you spend it on autopilot, trapped in habits that do not serve you, wondering why you feel stuck? Or will you spend it awake, alive, intentional, building the life you dream about through small daily choices that align with who you want to become? The answer to this question will be written by your actions, not your intentions, not by what you wish or hope or plan, but by what you actually do, day after day, choice after choice, habit after choice, habit. You are powerful beyond measure. You are capable of change, of growth, of becoming someone you currently cannot imagine. Inside you right now is the person who lives the life you want, who has the habits you admire, who embodies the values you respect. That person is not somewhere else. That person is not someone else. That person is you, the future you, waiting to emerge through the choices you make and the habits you build. Everything you have learned tonight is designed to help that person emerge, to give you the map, the tools, the understanding you need to close the gap between who you are and who you can be. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Tomorrow, take that step, then another, then another. Before you know it, you will look back and barely recognize where you started. You will have traveled so far, grown so much, become so different. But it all starts tomorrow with one small habit, one simple choice, one conscious action. Everything you want is on the other side of the habits you build. Everything you dream about is waiting for you to become the person who lives that dream. That person is not far away. That person is one habit at a time, one day at a time, one choice at a time. That person is tomorrow's you, and tomorrow's you starts with tonight's decision to finally, truly, actually change.